right, so tonight you guys get to listen to me. I'm going to tell you 10 different ways that you can handle pain.
Yay!
Okay? Maybe 11, but 10 is fine. And a big part of this is, towards the end, is Howard Beatty's material that has to do with how to get medical referrals and how to do pain management. So this is going to be kind of a quickie course. It's not going to be really, really in-depth, but I'll give you some ideas for different ways to do some pain management. So I'll share 10 ways to reduce or release pain. And Howard, if there's something that you see that I'm doing that's not quite right here, you're welcome to jump in.
Oh, go for it, Ray.
Okay. I went and looked online, and when you look at WebMD and most of the places, there are 100+ million Americans suffering from chronic pain.
Wow.
So the market for pain management is huge. I mean, that's looking at almost like 1 out of every 3 people have chronic pain. And if you look at all the other kinds of pain relief that you can do, the market is huge out there. So if you're not doing pain management now, because maybe you're like, well, what if I don't know how to get rid of the pain? What if I don't do this? It's a huge market, and pain management is not that bad to do. I know for quite a while Joni was like, I don't want to do pain management because I'm kind of like afraid that it's not going to work and I'm going to feel embarrassed, and now we're fine with it. So some of the hypnotherapeutic applications for pain management, at the conscious, local analgesia is one of the things. And analgesia it's the numbing sensation, creating the numbness, but while the patient is conscious, as opposed to anesthesia, where the client is unconscious from some type of anesthetic or some deeper form of hypnosis. So when you're looking at any of these things, you're looking at maybe local analgesia, minor surgery, shots, stitches, dental surgeries, fillings, extractions. The whole dental field is another field that's just, it's huge out there for people to be doing that. Other possibilities for traumatic injuries. Pat will probably tell you some stuff about painless childbirth, day-to-day bruises, strains. Put that picture there. It's kind of like, that guy probably will need a little bit of that. And then there's chronic pain, things like arthritis, diabetes, diabetic neuropathy, which I know because I've had diabetes, can be very, very painful. Pain relief during chemotherapy. Not only pain relief during chemotherapy, but when Joni's daughter was in the hospital, she had two different bouts of cancer. And during the second one, I was there to be able to work with her during her chemotherapy. And so out of about 20 sessions, I got to go to about 9 of them. And when she was going for her chemotherapy, she had 5 different kinds of nausea medication for after the chemotherapy. And so when I went to the hospital with her, I told the doctors and the nurses that I was going to be doing hypnosis while she was going to be receiving her chemo, which freaked them out to no end. But then they finally wound up saying, okay, you know, and because I was family. When I worked with her doing hypnosis during the chemotherapy, I was doing a lot of suggestions about relaxing, being comfortable, everything going smoothly, and going back and bringing DNA from prior to having the cancer, bringing it forward and having it begin to change. And during those 9 times that I went with her, after the day after, when she would normally need 5 different kinds of nausea medication, she used none or very, very little.
Wow.
So it was a huge difference, just major. And then one of the other levels of working with things is all of these other ones are analgesia type stuff, but one of the really deepest ways to do this is hypnoanesthesia. And that can actually be used for major surgery. We're not doing it much in this country, but in other parts of the world, more and more, they are relying on hypnosis for major surgeries. So it's growing, and it's going to continue to grow more and more as we continue to move in. Most people think that hypnosis is kind of one of these, alternative medicines. But we've actually been recognized by the AMA since 1958. That's longer than some of the people here have been born. So we've been actually recognized all that time. So it's not new. We're an adjunct to regular medical treatment, not necessarily an alternative medicine. So one of the first things here is, I think I've got one more slide I want to look at here. Let me see if I can. I want to look at this one first. One of the big things that you can take a look at that's just a big part of any kind of pain is usually stress. I don't know how many of you have worked with clients that, I have a lot of clients that come in and they have pain, but that's not why they're here. They're here because they want to reduce their weight, they want to do some other thing. But when they sit in the chair and you put them into hypnosis, they come out and they go, whoa, my pain is gone, and it's been gone for quite a while. A lot of that I attribute to as you're releasing a lot of their stress. And when you let go a lot of that stress, everything else that has to do with pain management goes so much smoother. So when your clients come in, ask them about what's their stress level, how are they doing with stress, because that's a really important one. So, and part of what you're going to do anyways should be stress management. So we'll talk a little bit about that. So always start off with stress management. So the first one that I like to talk about is something called, most people call it glove anesthesia, but it's really glove analgesia. And it's creating a numbing effect by imagining, and when they first started with glove anesthesia, they talked about, imagine that you're putting your hand in a bucket of cold ice water. Anybody ever put their hands in a bucket of cold ice water? It's not fun at all. Okay, so don't stick it in a bucket of ice water. Take your client down to a medium to deep level of hypnosis. Somnambulism is a good area to work with. And have your client begin to imagine that you're taking their hand and dipping it. And I actually move their hand off the chair and I dip their hand in the anesthesia or analgesia, any kind of numbing solution. Just if you want, tell them this is just like going to the dentist and getting your hand numbed. And when they begin to feel that, I have them just let me know by either saying they're feeling it or letting me know by moving their yes finger, by setting up ideomotor responses. Okay?
So you just suggest it's just a bucket of what?
Of any kind of anesthetic
You
material.
don't have to name it or anything.
No.
Okay.
Some people think about, getting a shot from the dentist, and then afterward, guess what? They feel bad and everything because their mouth is so numb. This you can turn it on and turn it off. It's just an anesthetic that they'll have no feeling at all. And so dip their hand in that, and you can just do that. Now, another easy way to do the same thing here is I just sometimes just touch the back of the hand, or if I want to be really client-centered, I'll just say, in a few moments, you're going to begin to notice on one of your hands, I don't know which, you'll feel a sensation. And that sensation, whatever it may be, it might be warming, cooling, it just might be something that's going on. And sometimes I'll just lightly touch the back of their hand, which begins to create a sensation anyway. And so when they begin to do that, I'll say, well, when you begin to feel that sensation, just let your yes finger come up or tell me that you're feeling it. Now, whatever sensation they feel, it's going to be, oh, that must be it that's starting to work. And they let their yes finger come up. And then I'll just start, now, deepen that. Let it go stronger and stronger and deeper and deeper. And then when you have it as deep as you can in that hand, just let the yes finger come up. Now when they've done that, now what I do is, I say, now take that anesthesia that you created in that hand, and now send it over to your other hand, and double the depth and the strength of that anesthesia. And when you've doubled it completely, going all the way through all the muscles and nerves and fibers and bone. Then let your yes finger come up. And when that happens, I send it back. All right, go all the way back. And now double it once again, all the way through, totally, completely, all the way through your hand. And when that's totally done, now you've got pretty darn good anesthesia. Now they've already learned that they can move it from hand to hand. So why don't we just move it to the place where the pain is? Although we don't talk about pain. Because every time we talk about, let's move it to where that pain is, guess what? They're thinking about the pain. So you're going to move it to that place where you're not going to have any sensation of, of difficulty at all.
Discomfort is a good word.
Yep.
What's that?
Discomfort.
No
is the word
discomfort,
that
exactly. No discomfort at all in this area. And so allow them to let it move and migrate to that place wherever it is in the back of their neck or anything, and then let it be there and let them enjoy that feeling. Now how does it feel? Do you feel any sensation of it there? And if they still feel a sensation of any of that, okay, now double it and let it go even deeper. And to let them continue to let that double. I use this technique a lot. It's a good technique. I mean, a lot of people go, oh, glove anesthesia, we don't use that anymore. There's lots of other techniques. So glove anesthesia, I don't use it. You can use it the same way by having the client put a glove on and imagine that glove is now creating a whole sensation of numbness throughout the entire hand. Okay? So that's another way. That's how glove anesthesia actually started. I like just dipping it into, they can feel that, and they come out and it's like, oh, how's that feel? I can feel it and they're working already. Oh, good. I like that. That's really good. And is it getting stronger? Yes. Okay.
That's an easy technique to teach them.
It's an easy technique to teach them now. That's right. Okay, we did stress. Okay, pain transference. I think that, if you read some of the articles on pain, and if you guys are part of the IMDHA network and you're on the Google, network of groups that are there, you'll notice that there's a ton of stuff that shows up there on pain management. But one of the things that I believe is that pain is just the receptor that gets sent to the brain, and if you don't send that receptor up to the brain and say, oh, that's a problem, then the brain doesn't accept it as a problem. And so let's say you have this pain in your hand and it's bothering you a lot. Well, put the client into hypnosis and now take that pain and move it all the way through their body. Move it to their earlobe. Okay? Everybody pinch your earlobe really hard. It almost has no feeling at all. You can stop pinching now. I don't want you to have any pain. Stop pinching. Ouch! Okay, so move it to the earlobe, someplace where there's, and now feel that. Just notice that there's almost no sensation in your earlobe, so there's no pain there either. Let that pain go. And if you choose, you could squeeze that earlobe and squeeze that pain, then throw it away. You can always bring it back later if you want to. Do you want to? No, I don't want to. Okay? So you just let that pain go completely. Simple technique, easy to do. Sometimes we have pain and we're living with this pain, and so when I have the client in hypnosis, I'll ask them, does that pain have a color? Does it have a shape? Does it have a sound to it? Is there some other sensation, something that you know? And so if it looks like the sensation that's on one side and it's black and it's got all of this emotion, or it's got something else, a sound to it that's like some kind of, it's hot, it's burning, it's, whatever kind of sensation it might be, move it to a different kind of color. Move it to a different sensation. Move it to some other feeling. And very often that pain will become much, much less. This kind of making little changes by projecting it into something else is kind of very interesting. I have a friend of mine in Arizona that works with autistic children, and so she went to a school and she was working with teaching some other classes that had to do with toning and sound therapy for people. And they had one autistic child that didn't have much responsiveness, but was enough to be in this class, was still functioning fairly well. And so she was doing an experiment, and she's had this one child in the middle of the room, and she had all the other students go around and asked what color he was feeling, and he was feeling this blackish gray color. And so she had all of the students in a room all together just do the sound blue. Now imagine like 20 kids in the room, they just chanted the sound and the color blue to him for about 3 minutes. And they said that child was almost back to complete normal. He was like almost normal functioning for 3 days, just by chanting that color. So sometimes just the things that we make, just little projections and ways to do things, can very often change the feelings and emotions that we have. So doing this with pain management can also be a great way to have the client now begin to feel it differently. You know, if you have a burning, hot, searing pain, if you change it to something that's cool and blue, wow, that makes a huge difference on how that's going to feel to the client. For people that have chronic pain, sometimes just having a little bit of relief for a while can be great. You know, if you're in pain all day long, if you can turn it off completely for a while or turn it down, so put your client into hypnosis and put a gauge on them, something like a thermometer that goes from 100 all the way down, and 100 could be, you know, just as bad as that pain could possibly be, and going down to maybe not 0 but 10, because you know about turn it off completely. So have them imagine that they have this gauge, and when they see this gauge from 0 to 100, on this gauge, where are you feeling that pain or that discomfort right now? Well, I'm feeling it about 85. Well, there's a little dial on that gauge. Take that dial and turn it down to about 50. How does that feel now? And that should feel quite a bit better. Now, you should always go the other way. Take it past 85 and bring it up to 90. How does that feel? Oh, that's even worse. Because you want them to know that there really is a scale that goes both ways. Okay, now bring it down to a nice acceptable level that feels okay to you. How does that feel? Feels good. Okay. Now, you can leave it sitting that way for up to 4 full hours. So let it sit that way for 4 full hours. And I use the 4 full hours because that's kind of the same time frame that most medications that we get is set for. Oh, here's your prescription. You get 4 hours worth of relief for it. And then you can take the prescription again. So I set it up so that they can take themselves back into self-hypnosis, turn it back down again to an acceptable level, as low as they can reach it. And, you know, it works pretty well for people. I have some people that I kind of talk about the gauge, but sometimes they build it themselves. I had one gentleman, his gauge didn't have any numbers on it. It was red, it was yellow, blue, green, and then blue. Blue was the bottom of it. So I said, turn it all the way down to blue. And so I said, you know, and let your yes finger come up when you get there. And I'm waiting and I'm waiting. I said, did you get it to blue? He goes, sorry, I can't get it past green. So all he could do at that time was get it to green. And so I kept giving him suggestions that, remember to use your post-hypnotic suggestions.
Yep.
The suggestion is that as you continue to use this, it gets stronger and stronger so that you can move it farther and farther down. The next time I saw him, he could easily move it to the blue. So putting a dial on any way that you want to, you can use your imagination, make it any kind of dial you want. It can be just a lever that you pull it down and it feels better. You know, however you want to make one works pretty well.
Rheostat.
A rheostat.
Like,
Uh,
What would happen if you like told him 72 hours, like a 3-day period, you know?
you can do whatever you want.
I just
But-
wondered maybe there would be like your body might learn it doesn't have to be in pain if you did it for long enough. What's the longest that you've ever done it?
You can turn pain off completely.
But you
Permanently.
said some
Well-
cases you don't.
What's
want
that?
to do that? Some cases you don't want to turn it off. Why would you not want to?
You can turn it off completely, but we're going to talk a little bit about before you do pain management. We're going to, as we get to the end here, I'm telling you the techniques to use it. If you're going to do any pain management, you're going to need to get a doctor referral, and the doctor's going to give you the okay to turn it off completely or not.
Oh.
Okay, you're going to leave that to the doctor to make that determination. Okay, but you don't want to turn it off completely and go, oh, I can lift this 500-pound weight, and then they're going to hurt themselves. So there's a couple ways to do that. One way is you always make it so that the body will always recognize if there's a danger involved and will automatically bring the pain back if it's necessary. Remember, pain is a signal that there's something wrong.
Yep.
And the something wrong could be that you fell off a ladder and hurt your back 10 years ago, but you still have that pain, which means that if you can get rid of it, but you still want to make sure that you're not going to do some kind of harm.
Ray,
Yes.
I have a couple models in my office. One's a dial and one's a series of levers.
Yes.
And I don't show it to my birth hypnosis class or when I'm working with pain until after they've been through the process. But because I want them to create their own imagery about what it is. So as you said, with the dial and the colors and all that. But then after that, I show them, a little box with a dial on it or levers, and they appreciate seeing that.
Yeah, that gives them the visual to go along with it. At first they're making it up in their mind, but they don't really know. And if you show it to them, they can see it pretty well.
Validate some.
Most people, 75% of the people out there are visual. So if they can, if you can show them something, that gives them a good view of it. Idiomotor exploration. Roy Hunter, in his book, The Art of Hypnosis, or Hypnotherapy, I'm not sure which one, I have to go back and look. He does a whole section on idiomotor responding, where he has the 7 psychodynamics of a symptom. And if you look at some of that material, it's just a few pages in his book, but you can look at it. He has 7 different ways that you can ask questions of the subconscious mind to determine, does it have to do with something that I learned years ago? Does it have something to do with something current in my life? Something from my past? Is it something to have to do with an inner conflict? And so there's 7 different questions that you can ask that can help you to learn to find out if the pain, where it started, where it's coming from. And once you have one of the psychodynamics of where that pain started and came from, you might be able to go back and release whatever that is. Maybe I'm having that inner conflict because I haven't released a death in my family. I've just developed this pain because I haven't got closure because someone's passed away in my life, and so I'm continually having that pain. So when you ask the 7 psychodynamic questions, you can find out whether one of the issues could be one of those 7 psychodynamics. So that's another way that you might be able to find a way to go to the key of releasing it. Most of the time what we're trying to do is, with what we do in hypnosis, is find out, is there a core cause, something that's causing this problem, and reframing it into a different light so that the client is now released it and let it go. So many issues that we found that way, we just release those issues, and when they're changed, they're gone. The client doesn't have that compulsion anymore. a computer console technique is a good technique to use. This technique is where you put the client into hypnosis and you deepen them and you have them sit there and imagine that they have a keyboard in front of them and hopefully they know how to type, or at least they have a few things that they can do. And so they have a keyboard in front of them, but over on the side they have another secondary keyboard. And it has dials and knobs and little levers and switches. It's a pretty complicated piece of equipment, and they don't have to understand what all of it is, but that controls all of the functions throughout all of the systems in their body. And they'll be able to use that. And so on your computer console, imagine now that we're going to be running a scan from the top of your head all the way down through your body, and anywhere that we find something that has to do with your pain issue, we're going to stop there and we're going to pinpoint and we're going to see if we can find the right knob, dial, lever that's going to be able to control that. And so you have them type on their keyboard, scan, and hit enter 3 times. That starts the process of the scanning moving down. And then they can just open themselves to be aware of that scanning coming down. And when or if the scanner stops somewhere, then we'll take a look at that. So the scan comes down and it goes all, and it's like, okay, it stopped. And what do you see now? It says abdomen. What are you seeing on your screen? It says abdomen. Okay, so does it give you an idea what needs to happen there? It just says abdomen. So take a look on your console over here. Is there anything now that's lit up or that you can see that has to do with abdomen? Oh, yeah, there's a dial over here. Okay, what does it say? Well, it's got an arrow pointing to the left. Well, adjust that dial to the place where it feels correct. Okay, so they adjust it. How's that pain feel now? Feels better. Or find whatever they found in that area. Just adjust it. Okay, is it done? Yes. Okay, now there's a little thing there that says lock. Lock that in position. Is it done? Yes. Okay, type scan again, hit enter, and it'll continue scanning. You can use this as simply or as complex as you want to do, just setting up this computer console. It can go through all of the endocrine system, any system that you want to go through individually, or just have it look for the particular issue that they came in with. It's good for lots of different things, not just pain
You
management.
could probably use the delete key.
And you could use the delete key, if that'll work.
Yeah.
Delete that one. Okay. Is this an emotional issue or a physical issue? It's emotional. Can you hit the delete key? Will that get rid of it? Yes. Okay. So try it. So these are things you can experiment with, play with, see how it works. Sometimes when you're playing, I recommend that you play with somebody who's not paying you your full salary, so that when it doesn't work, you go, oh shit, excuse me,
OSHA.
OSHA, yeah. So practice with somebody before you try a brand new technique. You hate to get in there and they go, I don't see anything, what are you talking about? Oh, wait a minute. That's not your console, sorry, I forgot.
Error, file not found. What?
Corrupted file?
That's right, corrupted data. Yeah.
Okay, one of the things that you can do is, let's create an inner advisor. Your client goes into hypnosis, and now imagine that we have the world's best inner advisor, knows all about emotional, physical, mental, all kinds of different things. And that inner advisor, when you ask that inner advisor for help, is going to go through and look through your body and help you to pinpoint the area that needs to be taken care of to resolve this particular issue. Milton Erickson used to do something that he created for one woman. It was called the February Man. And every February, throughout her life, there was the February Man went and would explain what was going on throughout that person's life. So he created an inner advisor that could actually explain the things that were going on within that person. So this is a technique that you might want to try, something to do with an inner advisor. And some of the techniques that you're going to use you're going to determine them based on, your intake. Would an inner advisor be good for a young child? Create the inner advisor, make it be whatever their superhero is. And that superhero is Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Spider-Man can swing throughout your entire body and find everything that's there, and then take that problem and wrap it up and make it so that it's all completely contained, and then take it away. So be creative. That's half of the fun. I always say that I play with my clients, so I hate to, and I don't mean that maliciously, but
Right.
I play with whatever techniques, and I try to be as creative as I can with them so that stuff happens, and it works very well. Disassociating pain. Imagine that you're going now to a beautiful, peaceful place. And in that place where you're relaxing, feeling so comfortable, so peaceful, where nothing at all can disturb or bother you. There's no discomfort whatever that can be allowed in this place.
Thank you.
Hush.
I was trying to do a little ambient peacefulness. Sorry.
Yeah, a little bit more than that.
What's that? A little more than that?
More than that. They're sharp.
Sharp.
Have sharp sound to them.
Okay. Well, I had I had birds in there before, and Joni goes, "No, they're too much noise." So I tried to put this softer thing in. So, all right. Leave the sound out when you do this.
Yeah.
Have your quiet music playing in the background anyway. But moving them to a peaceful place away from anything that can disturb them. Put them in their own private place where no discomfort at all is allowed. Do not disturb here.
Well, and if it's available, a peaceful place for them before the pain manifested.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
Sure.
even better, yeah.
For the what? For the plant?
Before, move them to a place before they ever had the pain manifest.
Oh, okay.
Because then there's no pain available there.
Right.
That's right.
You want that sound some more? I'm sure you like
Yes.
I've used it.
it. Okay. Your client is in deep hypnosis. They're relaxed. And you begin to allow beautiful white healing light to come down and to surround all the outside of their body, and then it begins to move in and it permeates inside the body, releasing any and all discomfort anywhere within your body, between every nerve and fiber and muscle and bone, even down to the molecular level. All of the discomfort in your body is just being released completely with this white light energy that's entering into your body. Now, if they like blue, I always ask clients, what's your favorite color? Blue. Okay, imagine this beautiful blue light. Oh, you like red? Okay. Imagine this beautiful red light coming down and flowing into your body.
Howard shaking his
I wouldn't use red.
No, probably not, but but if it's their favorite color, but I probably wouldn't use red. Is there another color that you like besides red?
How about pink? It's a little reddish.
Now sometimes I alter this and I use waterfall technique,
Yep.
which I haven't even listed here, but I have them imagine that whatever discomfort they have in their body is like a blackness. It's like black India ink. And imagine yourself standing under a waterfall, and that water is just flowing down over you, and now it flows through you. And as you look down, you can see that black ink beginning to flow out of you. And that discomfort that you've been feeling is just being washed away totally. And allow yourself just to remain there while this is completely washed away. Now, some of these may or may not be permanent techniques, but, you know, if you give your client that release, sometimes that's all they need.
Or
The ability to go back and do it
something
more.
easy that they can use.
Yeah, and they can go back and reproduce it anytime they want to. Okay, so those are all kind of analgesia, different ways to handle that. But I think that the very best way to do this is the Howard Beatty way. And the Howard Beatty way is probably way more complex than I'm going to talk to you about tonight. But it's creating total anesthesia. And that is by taking your client to a whole different level, down to the S-stale state. How many people here work in the S-stale state?
I do. Always.
Pardon?
Always.
Howard does, of course.
My clients have slipped into it
Yeah.
without me even.
Well, since about the 1850s, people were always teaching how to use the hypnotic threat in case your client ever went down into, the S-stale state. And they said 1 out of 10,000 people would slip into the S-stale state, and I think it's way more than that. But, and the hypnotic threat was always that if the next time I count you up or bring you up out of hypnosis, you don't return, you'll never be able to return to this state and these feelings again. And that was usually always enough to bring someone out of hypnosis. If you read in the book by Dave Ellman, Hypnotherapy, he did a lot of work on finding out about whether in the S-stale state, see, when somebody goes into the S-stale state, for all practical purposes, it looks like you're in a coma. There's no movement, no talking, no being afraid of anything. If you put your arm up like this, put their arm up like this, it just remains there. They don't care. They're kind of in a state of euphoria. The other nice thing is they don't feel any pain. They don't feel any pain at all when they're in that state. So if you want your client to be able to get a respite from pain, chronic pain, if you teach them to go all the way down to the S-stale state, they can remain there for a couple hours or an hour, and they could just stay there and have that respite from having any kind of pain or discomfort. There's another way that you can take them down there. It's a process that Howard outlines in some of his material, but you can actually set it up so that the client at this level can learn to use a simple technique of pressing 2 fingers together and saying their magic word numb, and then numbing the part of the body that they want to have no discomfort at all from. And so then they can do this not only when they're in the S-stale state, but they can do this in the full conscious state, which means that they can create full anesthesia in a hand while they're in full waking consciousness. Turn it off completely anytime they want without having to go back, into hypnosis again, just touching 2 fingers and saying numb left hand. And just for a few moments, that hand will be there, and you give them the signals that it lasts for up to 4 full hours. And then there's a release by doing the same thing and saying the word normal and the part of the body that you want to release. So there's a whole technique that Howard has that, that talks about that. And I'll be doing. Pardon?
Ray,
Yes.
on this slide that you have right now, this lower right corner, we can't read the words. Your picture's right on top of it. Consciousness is still
There.
present. Is that right?
Yeah.
What is the word?
Yeah, consciousness is still there. Still
Okay.
present.
That's what I thought, but I didn't
Even,
want to.
even though for all intents and purposes to the outside world, it looks like they're in a coma. Oh my God, what are we going to do? You know, stage hypnotists used to get in this every once in a while. Somebody they would bring up, they'd go down into the S-Dale state, and they couldn't bring them out of it. They'd have to go get a doctor, they'd take them off to the hospital, they'd check them in, and then maybe 2 hours later when they decided they'd come out. But now we know how to work in the S-Dale state. And so there's ways to do that. The person that helped change really working interactively in the S-Dale state was Inez Simpson. Because she learned that you can actually leave a part of the body out of S-Dale. Leave it in somnambulism, take the rest of the body down to S-Dale, and then you can use ideomotor responding. Cool technique. Great. And in S-Dale, when you work in the S-Dale state, Howard can tell you, most of your suggestions and all of that, there's no consciousness getting in the way, so your suggestions are permanent. Much, much stronger than working in any of the other states of even down to somnambulism and going below that.
Question? So
Yes.
you said if they do slip into the SDL state, then the only technique you have to get out of it was a hypnotic threat. Was there another way?
That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
And which was, you just say if you don't return to the,
To waking consciousness, the next time I count you up or bring you up,
you can't return to this state.
you'll never
ever
be,
again.
you'll
Right.
never be able to return to this state and feeling again.
Okay. Okay. All right.
And it doesn't have to be just returning to waking consciousness. You can just raise them back up to somnambulism.
Okay.
I had that happen in class here when I forgot to establish the ideal responses and to leave the arm in somnambulism. So when I got him down to Esdale, he wasn't responding. Oh shit, it was my fault. I forgot. And so I told him to come up to somnambulism. I'm going to count up from 1 to 10. He did not respond. And I told him, I used the thread. I said, unless you respond, unless you come up, you will not experience this state again.
And because they want to,
Right.
they do that.
And I brought him back up to somnambulism, and he gulped because he got his speech back. And yeah, he told me, he says, stop bothering me.
Leave me alone.
Because it's so euphoric.
Yeah.
Esdale is so euphoric. Yeah.
Okay, so now I gave you at least 10 different release techniques for pain or release. You can start
Raymond?
Yes.
Can I comment? There's an excellent book called Hypnotize Yourself Out of Pain.
Really?
It has tons and tons of techniques, and there's an older version and then an updated version, and the updated version has a CD in it, but it's got like every technique, and it's the kind of book you might give to somebody who really wants to work on it, or it has a lot of techniques really laid out beautifully. It's a really excellent book. It's about the best one I've ever seen.
What's it called again? Hypnotize yourself?
Hypnotize yourself out of pain.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Cool. All right, so now that you got all these pain techniques, you're sitting in the office and you're going, all right, I'm ready. Where is everybody? Come on. Well, you know, if you kind of sit and wait for somebody to come in with, hey, I got my referral from my doctor, can you help me? I think I had 2 clients in about 12 years walk in with a medical referral all ready to go. It doesn't happen very often, you know, so you can sit there and wait for them to come in and, oh, I'm sure they'll be coming through the door any moment now that I got all these pain techniques. No, you'll have a pain in the derriere before they walk through the door that you'll have to work on. The other way that you can do this is you can start advertising and sending out for doctors. Send out letters, stop in the office, bring all your brochures and stop in. And, you know, you're sure that when you get there that this is so important that the doctor's just going to be, I can't wait because this will be so good for my patients. Okay? Well, when you get there, guess what? You walk in and you want to see the doctor, you walk up and you go, I'd like to spend about 15 minutes just talking to the doctor about hypnosis and how I can help their patients. And you're all enthusiastic, and guess what? You hit the gatekeeper. And she goes, my job is to keep the doctor on task. He gets paid every 11 minutes for seeing a client. If he doesn't see that client, we don't get paid, and our profits go down. So I'm not going to let people in if I can help it. So you can offer to leave your material and do all that, but about the time you walk out the door, she goes, okay, goes into the round file. Most of the doctors that I've gone in and dentists that I've worked with, I go, I can help you with pain management. And they're like, why? We use drugs. Drugs work great, you know. But there's more and more people want to not have the possible adverse effects and problems with drugs, and want to do more natural things. So doctors are beginning to shift and look at that much, much more. So they might be more open to it. And you have to know how to go in there, be professional, and present yourself as a professional. So that's one way that might work. But a better way to do that, to get more clients in, is to begin to advertise that you have a solution for people that are suffering from pain. Let them come in and talk to you first, and you'll help them get their medical referral very easily. Okay? There's a great method that you can use that was actually developed by Howard Beatty, and Howard has presented this at national conventions, and so it's a technique that works, and it's a really good technique. And I'll just give you the quick outline of the plan of how this works. You advertised to your clients that I do pain management. You got clients that come in and you're doing your intake, and you ask them, do they ever have any pain or any issues? Oh, I have pain. Oh, my sister does pain, has pain. So you can find people that, we do pain management. We can release and at least alleviate a lot of pain. So you can start bringing your clients in by advertising and looking for people that want to get rid of pain. How many people out there have pain? Anybody remember?
100 million.
Yeah, over 110 million. It's more like, I've heard other numbers, more like 116 million. Not even talking about dental stuff. Dental stuff is another whole category. It's huge. Okay, so your client comes in, you have them fill out paperwork. There's some paperwork that you can, Howard, do you still have your paperwork on your website for downloading for referral forms?
I believe so, and if it's not, I'll make sure that it is.
Okay.
Send me an email. I'll be glad to send you the whole packet.
Well, I've got it. I just wondered if it was on your website, because I would just send everybody to your website, because I don't have it on mine. But I can send it to people if they want it. Okay? Your client comes in, you get your client to sign a doctor letter. You've got the letter already made out. They just have to sign on the bottom, and you fill in a few of the blanks that talk about, my client is here, they would like to work with me for pain management, and I wanted to put you in the loop, and so get a referral. And so you send that to the doctor, but the way you send it to the doctor is you send it in an envelope, but you send with it the request for the referral, and you've already got the referral requests all made out. So now the doctor only has to sign it and date it and check off a few boxes. Okay? And then you put it in the envelope with a self-addressed sealed envelope, and you put the whole thing in that's in the envelope that says confidential patient records. Now, that means that envelope can only be opened by the doctor. And any of the material in that contents of that letter has to become, by law, part of the patient's permanent medical records. So the doctor has to open it up and read it. He can't go, hypnotherapy, what do I want to talk about that? Now your client is requesting the doctor referral through us. They've got a self-addressed envelope. So when the gatekeeper gets it, she goes, okay, so this is part of the client's permanent records now. She just brings it into the doctor. He makes the checkoffs. He signs it, dates it. She sticks it back in the self-addressed envelope and sends it back to you. And in just a couple of days, you have your referral.
Genius.
Easy squeezy,
Good
no
job,
problem.
Howard. Yay.
So what do you tell your client while you're waiting? We have to wait for your referral to come back.
No, that's not right.
What?
No, you don't wait until they come back.
No, let me finish. I know that.
All right.
I said, do you tell your client that? I went, no, you don't. Remember that stress? Everybody's got stress, and you're going to start putting your client into hypnosis and doing stress management and getting them prepared for the medical part that you're getting rid of the pain. So while you're waiting for that to come back, you're teaching them self-hypnosis, maybe how to go all the way down to the S-Dale state, or how to do stress management. And so by the time that comes back, your client is already prepared for whatever you're working on. So the medical referral comes back, and so when the medical referral comes back, you send a letter back, just a quick thank you letter back to the doctor. Because what you're trying to do is build rapport with the doctor, close that loop. They know that, thank you, I'm working with your patient to make your patient feel better. Okay? Now the doctor goes, okay, there's somebody else working in my court. Okay? And so you start to work with the client doing stress management. And they're beginning to relax, feel better. They might even already have some pain relief just from that.
Do you send any of your credentials or anything like that in that envelope, or it's just?
Yeah, it'll be part of your letter. You'll see when you, if you want the letters and stuff, I'll email it out to anybody that wants
Yeah.
it. Okay? So then your medical request comes back for being able to work, and you send another quick note back to the doctor telling them that you received it and you're beginning to work with their patient. Okay? Now we're becoming an adjunct to their medical practice. And as they keep getting these things that go into the client's permanent records, your name is being passed by them all the time. And so then you do and you might, if you're doing a number of sessions, you might send them an interim report, or at the end, you should send them a final report telling them, I did 6 sessions with client, preparing them for surgery or post-surgery or pain management. And you send that and close that loop so that now the doctor has got all of that information back. And could you send your brochure and cards back with it? I'd always send a brochure and a couple cards back so that he can look and see how you do things and see that you're professional. You're licensed in the state of Washington. You know, doctors are licensed. They're not registered, they're licensed. So you want to use the same kind of terminology and things in your credentials that they like to hear. Okay? So you prove yourself to them as being a good quality adjunct to their patients, and then they'll remember you and start sending clients back to you. Joni has somebody over in Hawaii. There's an attorney over there, and when he's working on medical issues with clients, he actually has them fly over here and have sessions with Joni, because she's proved that she's reliable in doing that. Okay? Do you imagine? He's had people fly over here from Hawaii 5 times just to have sessions with Joni. And he sets the rate at $500 a session.
Wow.
Send me more!
I know.
Okay.
Fly over there.
What's that?
Yeah.
Or fly over there. Okay, so what's the
You're in
outcome of
luck.
doing
We're
it
coming
this
to you.
way? It's a triple win situation. You win because you have a pain management client that's a doctor, and you're bringing in more and more business from a huge network of people that need to be out there. The doctor wins because the doctor is getting a lot of the pain and problems that their client had is now being resolved. And now it's so much easier for them to do anything that they need to with their client. And their patient is feeling good about working with us and with the doctor. Because remember, we're working with the doctor's patient. And so the clients come in and they feel like, oh, well, you're related to the doctor, or you're an adjunct to them. So they feel good about you working with them. And then they feel good about sending other people to you. So the doctors refer to you and the patients refer to you. So you're winning just as well as anybody else that's here. I think it's a great system.
Yeah.
It's a good presentation, Ray.
Thank you. Okay, so this is a kind of a, just about an hour overview of this. I'm going to be running a review class for anybody that's already a hypnotherapist. It's going to be an 8-hour class. It goes from 9 to 5. It'll be April 5th. And so we'll go all the way through everything that I covered today in detail, as well as a lot more emphasis about how to get your clients down into S-Dale, which is a great thing to learn just on its own because there's other things that you can do there. And how to go through the process of getting the medical referrals in greater detail. So if anybody's interested in that, they can just let me know. April 5th, 9 to 5. The cost is $95 for the full day.
Raymond?
Pardon? Yes.
That has a, I think, one of the things that's really important is that the pain has been evaluated previous to you coming to you, because if you are working with somebody with a pain and you don't know what the cause is, you don't know where, anything about it,
Yep.
and start removing the pain when we don't know, it may be that warning sign, that red flag.
Yep.
So that's another reason to work with the physician, but also being sure that the person has had a complete evaluation or an evaluation of that pain. And because sometimes people think, oh, I'll just go to the hypnosis person and they'll get rid of the pain. Well, they don't even know what the pain is from. That's not a real good
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Something.
That's why I always say that if you're going to deal with pain, you need to get the medical referral.
Yeah.
You can't, your client goes, I just had this occasional headache. Can you work on that? No. Because what if that occasional headache is a brain tumor or some other difficulty and you mask it? Guess what? You now become a truck driver because you can't do hypnosis anymore.
Right.
And maybe it's even worse than that. They sue you for everything that you've got because you were the one that caused the problem. So if someone comes in, you can still send a letter off to their primary care physician, but their primary care physician might say, I'd really prefer to see that patient before you start that.
Yep.
You can still do stress management with them,
Yep.
but because you're not doing the pain, and you might want to send them back to the doctor, and the doctor will be happy that you're not working on it and you're creating that relationship with the doctor. So you're covering yourself all the way around. Management as part of our normal class. I think we were one of the first people to ever have Howard come in and do his pain management class when we were still up in Milton, and he's allowed us to teach that at the same time. So we do teach it as part of what we do for our class. So mine, when I'm going to be presenting in the one day, will be not Howard's complete, but it'll be some of these other techniques with some of that other pain management in there at the same time.
Thank you.
That was good. That was
Thank you
very,
guys
very
for
good.
coming. We'll see you next month.
Okay.
Thank you, Ray.
Okay, bye-bye.